Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2024 Heart Women's Volleyball Media Day. I'm your host, Heart correspondent Rich Linden. Hey, we've been looking at all 13 Heart teams, and we're going to go to one of my favorites. I love them, Grandview University. Head coach Devin Wells and student athlete Sydney Beasley. Coach Sydney, how are we doing today, and how's Des Moines?
We're doing good. Just had our first practice today, so we're in that in-between little break right now, but doing good so far.
Doing
Yeah.
great. Well, let's get right into it. Coach, how's preseason going? How are practices heading?
Well, when kids come back, they're not quite ready into the volleyball world a little bit. So we did a couple two-a-days for a couple of weeks, and then we do some small group stuff. So I think we're starting to get on the same grasp of that Grandview volleyball.
Love it. It seems like it goes so fast.
Absolutely.
You get very little prep time and boom, the season starts.
Yep.
Nuts. So, Sydney, let's talk about you a little bit. What inspired you to pursue a volleyball career at the collegiate level? What do you love most about the game? When did you get started and how did you become a Viking?
I started off when I was like 10 years old, and I wasn't very good at first for a while, but once I had a good coach to help me kind of navigate like the actual techniques of how to play well, it kind of became like a love for the game kind of stemmed from like the community that I had with all my teammates and stuff like that. And being able to mix all the personalities and form it into one like united team, I think was really interesting to see as somebody who likes to be around people and loves to play the game.
Excellent. Well, let's talk about your teammates now at Grandview. How much do you enjoy being around them? Tell me a little bit about your team.
Well, we always tell like every recruit or incoming freshman, like we are friends on the court, but off the court, we spend time together like by choice. Like we actually do hang out like outside of practice. We talk volleyball or we talk about our regular lives. Like it's always a really good vibe and like high energy with our team on and off the court.
Well, Des Moines is a really good college town, as I know from experience. Lots of things to do in and around Des Moines. So, what are some of the things that you and your teammates do to create that family and that bond off the court? Where do you go? What do you do?
We go to Smash Park. It has like some pickleball courts, some tennis courts and stuff like that. That's always a good way to stay active with the team and like just kind of have like fun, even if we're bad at pickleball, we still have fun with it. We have like a good green space too at Grandview. It's like they have some disc golf stuff. We just play yard games in the green space there too. So it's a nice little place to go to.
Yeah, I love it. All right, coach, let's talk about this season. Let's start with some of your returners. Tell me about some of the impact players that are coming back this year.
Well, Sydney is one of them. She's our middle that's kind of been a part of our varsity program all of her years. We have some DSs that are returning. We have Chevy, who's our returning libero. She's coming back for her 5th year. We have a couple of DSs that are getting in the mix. Our setter, or both of our setters, or all three of our setters, have returning for kind of that quality leadership part. And we also have some pin hitters that are returning to kind of, be the glue and whatever we need to in their capacity of what they can bring to the team.
That's fantastic that you got that core that's coming back.
Yep.
That's got to feel good, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
Have that
Yes.
familiarity. Well, I've said this all day. The Heart, it's a crazy juggernaut of women's volleyball and men's volleyball too, for that matter. It's just so strong. I think one of the strongest conferences in the nation. They consistently send 3 or 4 teams to the national championship every year. I mean, you could have 5 teams ranked in the top 25 at some point this season. So, coach, tell me about the strengths of the Heart Conference and what does it mean to play in this type of conference and what do you do to prepare for that conference run?
I think, it challenged us to not have any days off. I think there's moments where, we kind of overlook opponents at times, and at that point they kind of find you in that way. And I think for us, we always have to train ready to go regardless and kind of play our own volleyball. But for us, again, the challenge is always going to be there, and there are several teams in this conference that kind of have that competitive energy, and at that point, you really never know what you're going to get. Maybe you get them on their off night and you have a great match, or vice versa. And there's always learning opportunities. And I think for us, having us be in such a big conference that is competitive, is huge for us, whether it's at the beginning of the season or at the end.
Yeah, I've been hearing this from all the coaches, like top to bottom. You have to be ready every single match, top to bottom. Can't overlook anyone in the heart. And now you're adding two more teams, and
Yep.
both those teams have incredibly competitive squads. So
Right.
it's gonna be a crazy, crazy year. So, Sydney, I'm gonna flip a little bit. So you're a middle hitter. Have you always been a middle? And how did you end up becoming a middle?
Well, they tried to have me, I've always been a hitter. I've always been in the front row. They tried having me outside and wasn't the best out there. So, I mean, like in high school, I was kind of an outside hitter and that was fine. But in the middle, I think is where I really can like show how good I am because I feel like I'm someone who doesn't like to think too much about what I'm doing. And that's a quicker position that you have to go in. I don't have to think too hard about where I'm going. It's kind of just a reactive position, I think. And
Yeah.
I think that's where I strive is in the middle.
Middle hitters have an attitude. It's a attitude thing, and I love it. And they do all the work, Sydney. They grind and do all the work, and they get
That's what
very
I'm
little
saying.
credit for things they do. So incredible. Well, what's your major? What are you studying?
Psychology.
Psychology. What are you going to do with it? Do you know yet?
I'm gonna get my master's and hopefully become a counselor, maybe marriage and family, maybe clinical. I'm still trying to kind of figure out where I exactly want to go, but I'll for sure get my master's in psychology for
So
counseling.
how do you balance? This is a tough major. How do you balance all your academic work with the incredible amounts of time, commitment, physicality that goes into being a Grandview volleyball player?
I mean, the school part, it's easiest when you just show up to class and you just talk to your professors about kind of the way that your schedule works with volleyball and even with the job that I have too, that kind of it's almost like an internship for my it helps me with experience for psychology. So like balancing even that, it's just all about communication and kind of telling them this is what's going on and my commitment is volleyball right now and that's kind of the way that we go about things.
Awesome. Coach, what are some of your team goals this year? Either for individual players or the team as a whole.
If we're talking individual, I'm hoping that, our returners are kind of striving for some new goals and kind of figuring those out on their own a little bit and then having coaches challenge them to get better than what they, ended with last year or whatever their goals in themselves. But team dynamic, I would hope that we're kind of having that cohesive feel and good things happen when we're all on the same page and we have some good energy. So we've seen bits and pieces in preseason, and I'm just hoping those moments happen more often than not.
Who are you
But I think
who are
go
you
ahead.
playing tomorrow? Who are you playing tomorrow? You
So we
kick
play this week. We play at Bellevue, and for me, I haven't quite looked ahead that far, just
right.
because I know that we play 2 matches on Friday and 2 matches on Saturday.
Wow.
But again, like preparing these girls to kind of be ready to play back to back or whatever that looks like and have that mindset of we have to play our game is huge. But I think goals will come to us as we kind of play other opponents besides ourselves, and at that point I think if we all are on the same page some cool things will happen.
So you have four, you said four matches this coming weekend then.
Yes.
Okay, so none tomorrow, but that's still super fast.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
volleyball's been a big part of your life, coach.
Yeah.
What do you love most about this sport? And tell me, what do you love most about transferring your play into coaching and this team in particular this year? What do you love most about them?
Well, I mean, coaching is always challenging, and I think that aspect is kind of what grasped me into kind of implementing my game into younger athletes. As a player, I kind of enjoyed that energy of being technical, and I think I grew that into my assistant coaching role. And as I go into my head coaching role, I think that's similar to where I kind of strive. I think Sydney's a test to that. Is I'm very technical, and I think once they start to get on that process, I keep saying cool things are going to happen, and the light bulb moments are awesome. And I think once they start to understand like why they're doing what they're doing, is cool. But it's almost bigger than volleyball at that point. Is I'm kind of that life coach and kind of allowing them to kind of grow both individually as a teammate, as a leader. And those moments are bigger than just volleyball. So trying to be that core person to make sure that we're always learning, whether it's volleyball or life or whatever that is. I think that's kind of why I strive to be the coach.
Comes family then,
Oh
family,
yeah,
about
absolutely.
life. So Sydney, Is there any one particular match, one particular night this season that you've circled that you want to share with us, or all of them equally important?
I think they're all equally important, as we kind of mentioned that like you never know how the game's going to turn out with how competitive our conference is. I do think that I really want to make sure that we all understand the assignment for the William Penn games, just because we always had that little rivalry. It's always fun to compete with them because of all the energy that's happening, but I think it's important that we all kind of lock in this season, specifically against William Penn,
Yeah,
and but all the
they're close.
matches.
They're close geographically too, so
Yeah.
Mhm.
a lot of same players. That makes perfect sense. Well, I'm super excited. I'm feeling the energy right now. Can't wait to get this thing kicked off. I hope I get to announce some Grandview matches, but I am pumped up for this squad. Let's keep rolling, man. Good luck. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.